Hello, everyone, and welcome to Analytical Fanboys, the podcast where two boys get analytical about stuff they like and want to talk about with each other. I am, of course, your host, Simeon Scott, and I am joined by the glamorous Chris Gaston. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm feeling a little invincible.
Just a little?
Yeah.
Not completely? You're not invulnerable like Superman? You're just a little invincible?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I suppose that's pretty appropriate because tonight we're going to be talking about something I put on the list. We're going to be talking about the Invincible Iron Man arc called War Machine, which is the introduction of that character from the 90s. And it is written by Len Kaminsky, not David Michelinie, as I said in the last episode. It's written by Len Kaminsky, illustrated by Kevin Hopgood, Tom Morgan, and Scott Benson. So, Chris, this was your first time with these issues, correct?
Yep, issues 280 to 291 of Invincible Iron Man.
Yeah, so why don't you give me like a quick general thoughts and like a best thing, worst thing?
Quick general thoughts, the easiest general thought. Yeah. This is Iron Man 2.
It kind of is, yeah.
Like it's Iron Man 2. Rhodey's intro is really kind of good as like as a put upon superhero. Mm-hmm. It's a nice like wrinkle to the whole thing. Tony Stark's a dick.
He is,
but he's always a dick, so it's nothing new.
He's a dick in a more direct, less fun sense than usual.
And this is
than we know from the MCU, because we're MCU guys. We're not comic guys. Generally.
No, I'm comic. I'm pretty comic guy.
Okay.
It's just my back catalog knowledge of Iron Man is limited.
Mm-hmm.
But what was I about to say? This is about as 90s comic book as I'm willing to put up with.
Yeah, it's really fun in its 90s-ness and not at all like shitty 90s comics with bad proportions, pouches everywhere, and I don't know, missing feet.
Yeah, but that's Liefeld. But like this has a lot of those tropes of 90s. I was like, oh, big power armor. But for Iron Man, that kind of makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Cyber Samurais feature in it, which when I first saw them, I was like, oh, that's from a different time.
Yeah, that's 90s as hell. But like, let's talk about those guys for a minute. Let's just start diving into stuff here.
Because these guys were in the first couple of issues.
Yeah, and they're like the most 90s perception of Japanese culture I've ever seen, because they say words in Japanese randomly. Like I think they called Tony Stark a gaijin at one point, which gaijin literally means foreigner. So they should just be calling everybody gaijin for some reason, because they're in America in this. And
like they never call Rhodey a gaijin.
Yeah, and fucking what was the other thing I was gonna say? Somebody froze out like a couple different martial arts they're versed in, and I'm like, none of those are from Japan.
Yeah, like kung fu. It's like, no, that's Chinese, bro.
Yeah, and they say like they are samurai ninja types. Those are both Japanese, I'll give you that, but those are two different types of Japanese warriors. And one came thousands of years after the other.
And they were around at the same time. It's just
okay.
Yeah, the samurai ninja were around at the same time. The ninja were peasants fighting the samurai.
All right, I don't know samurai history too well. My knowledge of samurai history is whatever random shit Kamen Rider brings up and what's brought up in history of Japan.
Samurai lasted until like the 1700s, I think.
Oh, okay.
They lasted a fair bit. Their duties may have changed, but the term samurai was around. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I have also seen the anime version of Seven Samurai.
Isn't that the one with the giant robot?
Yeah.
No, you've also I damn near guarantee you've also seen an American Seven Samurai.
Do you mean A Bug's Life? Because I've actually not
Yes.
seen that movie.
Oh,
Put it on the list if you feel that way.
oh no! If I'm gonna put a Pixar movie, it's gonna be Ratatouille. Thank you.
Huh. Okay.
Ratatouille's my jam.
All right. Well, getting back to this, so we talked about Rhodey as kind of like the put-upon superhero, which is really interesting because it's, again, not how he's characterized in the MCU. He's just kind of generic best friend in the MCU.
He's
And
put upon a little bit. It's like, fuck off, Tony. Just what the fuck are you doing, Tony?
And like, I've not read a lot of stuff about Rhodey, but the general stuff I see in modern comics, he's just kind of Iron Man with guns.
Yeah.
And granted, that is what his suit is here, but like that doesn't define his character. He's not
he's military boy who's friends with Tony, and Tony just goes like, "Hey, you're my friend. Be a hero." And Rhodey goes like, "Yeah, I'll be you," but with like, boom.
Yeah, I like that. Tony actually makes the armor and wears it a little bit before he, spoilers, dies in this.
Dies with air quotes.
Well, he's dead to everyone in the book but himself and a couple scientists.
Oh no, he's still dead to Rhodey by the end of it.
Fair enough. And I like how he says to Rhodey, "I designed this with your specific attributes in mind," which feels a bit backhanded because it's like that's the armor with a ton of guns just bolted onto it, and it's like so you just see Rhodey as a shoot first, ask questions later kind of guy then.
No, I think it's more of like, hey Rhodey, you're a big scary dude. Use these guns to scare people. I like how they this is jumping forward and we'll jump back. I like how Rhodey accidentally came up with his superhero name.
Yeah.
Because he's like cool. He's chewing out Tony Stark. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing, man? You could have told me this shit." And he's like, "Yeah, I probably should have. Looking back, I fucked up." And he's like, "Yeah, you fucked up." And he's like, as he's storming out, he's just go, "I'm not gonna be your war machine."
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, ooh.
I love that scene, by the way, when he's just standing in he comes in and he takes off the armor and he's just standing in that hospital room in his underwear, and then he walks out and there's a nurse staring at him and he goes, "You got a coat or something?"
But she goes like, no, I don't mind.
That's like such a 90s thing. I love that.
Oh yeah. But back to the beginning with the cyber ninjas.
Yeah, that was a pretty okay standard like 90s I've got to go do a thing infiltration plot. It felt very much like if we had the budget to make an Iron Man movie in like the 80s or the 90s, we would have made this and Tony would have been played by like Stallone or someone. It felt very Predator to me.
Yeah, you do know that they were trying to make Iron Man in the early 2000s. So they were gonna cast Johnny Depp, right?
I've heard that before. I don't know too much about it.
That's all I know. So, but all the while, guess who's pulling the strings? It's fucking Justin Hammer,
who is also very different from his MCU counterpart because Justin Hammer's an old man who just hates Tony's guts in the comics.
Yeah.
I think he's actually dead right now, and his daughter Justine is like an Iron Man villain.
Yeah, I think that's the case right now. I think his daughters are in control, but it just makes me go, yeah, this is Iron Man 2. Justin Hammer's pulling strings in the background. Rhodey becomes Iron Man. Tony goes through some shit and can't be Iron Man for a bit, and then he becomes Iron Man again at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the same general plot, but there's a lot of details that are different that make this a much more compelling story to me. Mainly all the stuff because Tony's backstory was very sparse before. This is basically them going in and fleshing out and also retconning in certain spots Tony's backstory into what is, I think, a very interesting and compelling character more so than the MCU version, but certainly informs a lot about what makes MCU Tony compelling.
Yeah, I think this, because MCU Tony's never going to go full alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
This is very much the same kind of thing, but the MCU just took all the alcoholism of Howard Stark out.
Yeah.
Because it's revealed in here, much like the Hulk, the superheroes' fathers don't fall far from the tree.
Yeah. And it seems like young Tony's home life was just hell.
Yeah.
Especially with the way his father treated him, even when he was like kind of sober. Because there's that whole idea there of like Stark men are made of iron, and like
that's a good like little like lampshade.
Yeah, and I like how it gives that name a meaning that it didn't have before. It's like he's just called Iron Man because he's a dude in a robot suit. Now it's like, no, that means something.
Yeah, and even like it also informs that name, even if the suit's not made of iron. Like it's often not anymore. It's often like, oh, it's highly advanced aluminum steel nanoparticles with carbon.
Yeah, I like because we keep going back to this, or at least I do. That scene in the first Iron Man movie annoys me so much because I'm like, no, you don't need to lampshade it. Just he's Iron Man. It's fine. Just call him Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because that was back when that was pre-Loki horn helmet years when they weren't sure how much they could get away with, and they kept doing like cheesy early 2000s. We're just gonna say their name casually, but we're not gonna say this person is called that.
Honestly, I'd say that kind of went away the second Captain America kind of went like, I'm Captain America.
Yeah.
Like that Captain.
And this is true. I'm not saying this as like a thinking back kind of thing. I said to a friend walking into it, I hope to God, walking into the first Avenger, I said, I hope to God they just call the Howling Commandos, and don't go like, look at those commandos and how they howl or some shit like that.
Yeah. But I mean, units back then had fucking names like that.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Let's see, what else are we talking about? So Tony Stark basically goes like, hey, cyber ninjas, you got fucking duped. And they're like, oh shit, we have? Let's go research this before we try and kill you.
Yeah, which was cool. I like that when they didn't just go like, no, you're wrong, and then we had a big issue of them fighting.
They fought a little bit, which was fun.
Yeah, they're like, as much as we're dogging on like cyber ninjas, how 90s, like there's some decent fighting with fight choreography going on with them.
Yeah, and tiny bits of racism of just going like, dude, they're like full on Bushido, brah. It's like, motherfucker.
Do you even understand what that word means? Because it really doesn't look like you do.
Like, it's just like, okay. You're just throwing that kind of shit out there. All right. Okay, we can deal. Okay. All right. But that went on, and that's when the armor kind of come on. And dude, you were reading the trade. I was reading individual issues online.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the covers?
I did. The way the trade is organized is it's the issue, and then there's a page with just the helmet and like a dotted background, and then next to it is the cover, and then it goes into the next issue.
Ooh, that's good, because those couple issues when Tony Stark is in the in the War Machine armor, I fucking love that logo.
Yeah, that is awesome. And the trade's also organized, so it's like the cover of the trade is the War Machine armor flying at the camera and like punching and firing its shoulder guns. And at the top it says the Invincible Iron Man, and then down at the bottom, instead of just like in plain text the name of the arc, it's that War Machine logo.
But in the actual floppy issues, it had the Iron Man logo, and the War Machine logo looks like spray paint.
Yeah.
And War Machine is spray painted on top of it. And it's like, oh man, that's so cool. And I'm upset that when Rhodey was Iron Man, they didn't do that still.
Yeah, that was weird. It almost seemed like it should have been reversed. Because Tony was still calling himself Iron Man in that armor, if I remember correctly.
Like, it should have been that until Tony came back.
Yeah.
Because doing that whole mission, trying to stop that whole whatever gobbledygook, basically zapped the rest of the life out of Tony Stark, and he dies.
Yeah.
And we get a whole issue of sadness, and then at the very end,
it's like, ha! And you thought we were serious.
Yeah, because apparently Tony Stark's under cryogenic freeze. But like that whole issue has some like heart-wrenching moments. It's really well written. Like, I love
the dream where he's like trying to figure out if he should be Iron Man or not now that Tony's gone. And there's the dream where people are running up to the armor and it just falls apart.
But like one panel that really got me was Nick Fury's like leaning out of a window and just goes, "How can young guys like Tony die and old guys like me stick around? The world ain't right." And it's like, mother, Nick Fury.
And I love that Dr. Doom has a toast to Tony, like, and not like, yeah, he's dead. It's like, no, he was a worthy opponent. We're gonna drink to this motherfucker.
Yeah. Dr. Doom seems like that kind of guy. The only person he'd like go like, fuck yeah, he's dead is Reed Richards.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Hank Pym died. Country, we are in eulogy. We're going to respect our enemy. Mm-hmm. Reed Richards died. Parade.
I also didn't know that Latveria was a country that far back. I thought it was like an early 2000s thing for some reason.
Latveria's been around since like Doom first came about.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, Doom's been the king of Latveria in its very first like origins, I think.
I need to read more classic Fantastic Four because like I've never read them before. They've always just been a family that I'm interested in, but I'm reading the current Dan Slott run and it's so good. I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to be like a Fantastic Four fan now.
A fan for stick.
Mm-hmm.
But like all these different people are like going like, oh man, it fucking sucks that the Iron Man's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rhodey goes like, fuck, I'll be Iron Man. Shit. That's what Tony wants. God damn it, Tony.
I love what happens with his girlfriend too, because she's like, I should have been. She kind of comes out of nowhere in the context of these issues because you don't have their backstory.
Yeah.
But she was working for Stark Industries beforehand, and she's like, I was next in line to be CEO. Tony made you CEO in his will. Fuck you, quit and let me be CEO or we're gonna break up. And he has like a night of thinking about it, and then that's when that dream sequence happens, which is so good. And then he wakes up and he's like, no, I'm just gonna be Iron Man. And he just calls her and literally just says, Mercy, it's Jim. I've made up my mind. You're fired, and hangs up.
That's just like, damn, that's one way of breaking up with a gal.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then we get a couple like Monster of the Week, Baddie of the Week with Rhodey being Iron Man for a little bit.
And Rhodey's a pretty good Iron Man.
I think he's a better Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what the first couple like Tony Stark bits of the story are supposed to like show. It's like, oh, Tony Stark overthinks and overanalyzes, and Rhodey just goes like, all right, I'm here, save these people, I'm gonna go fight this thing.
Yeah.
Which so he goes up against a couple like a Sinister Six, but for Iron Man villains.
Mm-hmm. And then the Avengers show up to help in the end. And like, can we talk about this West Coast Avengers team? Because I had no idea about this era of the team.
It's like Hawkeye's there.
Janet is there, and she's calling herself the Wasp, but she's wearing like this weird green outfit I've never seen before. And
Janet's changed costumes like every 5 years in the comics.
That's fair. And then Hank Pym is there, but he doesn't have a superhero identity per se. He's just wearing a jumpsuit, and people say his superhero identity is Pym, just Pym, and he can still shrink and grow. And then there's some other 90s looking motherfucker. Like, what the hell is this team? I really want to know.
It's Marvel in the early 90s.
Yeah.
But they go like, who the fuck are you? And he goes like, guys, trust me, I'm Iron Man. They go like, this motherfucker can't be Iron Man. Iron Man was Tony Stark. And it's like, and it's just like, that's an interesting way of dealing with that whole shit. It's fun. That whole thing was going down. And Rhodey started dating another chick.
Uh-huh.
There was a cool moment between them after like they're in bed and he goes like, are you sure you want this? Because dating someone with my complexion ain't necessarily gonna get you any good looks. And it's just like, oh,
this was the fucking 90s. Like, it's crazy that we were still that was still a stigma that not that long ago
that had to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, but it's cool that they actually addressed it.
Yeah. And then we get the first of the Tony flashbacks, which is just kind of like setting up that his dad was an ass, and also he was into erector sets.
Yeah.
Which seems pretty character appropriate.
Yeah. It also really kind of shows a light on alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that whole kind of nut, that whole chestnut.
Yeah. The bit where they're playing, what is it, Monopoly?
Yeah.
That was like, that's.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get Morgan freaking Stark, which is like it's a weird plot line, but I like the idea of, because like we do aunts and uncles and occasionally parents in storylines. We've never had like Iron Man is the only character I can think of where like his cousin shows up and is a prominent character for a little bit.
Yeah. No, Superman.
True.
Superman's cousin, Supergirl.
Yeah.
And thus, by technicality, Power Girl.
Yeah. But I was thinking more so like supporting characters, not like a character, a hero in their own right.
Yeah, but I was just more like, there are cousins.
Yeah.
Doesn't Batman have like a cousin?
Kate Kane is his cousin. Batman. Which again is why I said I was more so referring to supporting cast members.
Marvel. Yes.
I don't know. I'm just thumbing through the trade trying to find the next thing I want to talk about.
Well, I could talk about Living Laser.
Yeah, the Living Laser issue is great.
And it really just showcases that Rhodey's not the guy to be Iron Man, but to be his own path.
Yeah.
Because basically, Rhodey, Living Laser comes in and goes like, hey, I want to kill Tony Stark. And Rhodey's in the office going like, Tony Stark is dead. And Living Laser's like, oh, well, that fucking sucks. All right, I'll kill Iron Man. And he's like, yeah, no, I fired him. He's not loyal to me. He's loyal to Tony. So why should I keep him around? And it's like, oh, that kind of sucks. And then Rhodey goes like, hey, you want a job? And Laser's like, what? Yeah, I mean, you're smart. You're smart enough to do all this kind of shit. So why don't I give you a job so you don't have to be a criminal anymore? And I when I first started reading this, I was like, fuck yeah, this will be awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. And then he does the cold-blooded 90s thing and just kills him anyway.
Yeah, but like it's at least a minimally justified to us because we see Living Laser's thoughts the whole time. It's like, yeah, I'll work here for a little bit until I get bored and then I'll just kill them anyway. And it's like, okay, that's kind of justified, but Rhodey didn't know that, so he just killed him in cold blood.
Yeah.
But at least Rhodey's like, I thought I was just doing it to protect them, but it feels so wrong. You know? I
do like, this is the only thing I've ever read Living Laser in, and I'm like, you know, this is a really cool idea for a villain. This is something we need to do. This is a character we need to bring to other media at some point.
Living Laser was in some like Iron Man cartoons.
He was? Okay.
Yeah, but
was he in like that Armored Adventures show?
With the Nickelodeon one, yeah.
Okay.
At
I
least
haven't watched that because the animation looks so terrible.
It is animation. But like these adventures just show that Rhodey's just a very good dude and a good hero, just not a good Iron Man.
Yeah. I like issue 288 a lot. That's the issue Meltdown at Ground Zero, where the guy's like threatening to destroy a nuclear power plant, and like it's a really solid conversation of those issues where it's like, yeah, dude, you got fucked over, but like this isn't the way to go about making sure it doesn't happen to anybody else.
And here's the thing, that conversation actually worked this time.
Yeah.
Like, because in any other medium, it's like, yo, dude, this isn't the way to go about it. And the guy goes like, it's too late, and just continues doing it. This time, dude, that's not the way to go about it. And this guy stops and goes like, you know what? Fuck yeah, you're right.
And I like that at the same time, Rhodey's having to fend off the U.S. government. Well, when he's like normally considered to be the military Marvel hero.
Yeah.
Like,
ooh, I just thought of a thing that'd be fun to see. Captain America leading Falcon, Rhodey, and any other like U.S. veteran Marvel superheroes into like a task force.
Yeah, like the U.S. Avengers, but make it like a pun. It's all one word.
Or the Howling Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good.
And you don't make it like a war thing. You make it a war story, but you don't do it like topical war. You make it like you separate it enough so you can go like, yeah, this is kind of a fun ragtag adventure. So you like send them off into space and you kind of depower them a little bit. Like you have Carol Danvers.
Make it a story about people with that kind of training having to deal with crazy comic booky scenarios and how you would implement that training in those scenarios.
Yeah, but like I could see Captain America, Winter Soldier, War Machine, Captain Marvel, Falcon, maybe the Punisher for that like wild card effect.
He's like their sixth ranger. He shows up as a villain for an arc, and then he realizes what he was doing was wrong. Like maybe he's killing somebody, and they're like, no, this guy's not a bad guy. Here's proof. And he's like, oh shit. Sorry, I won't kill him then. And
but like, I wouldn't even like turn him into a Sixth Ranger. He wouldn't like join the team permanently. He'd be in the background and like sniper.
Yeah, he'd be like a Barai kind of Sixth Ranger. He'd be the big gun that they only call in.
Not even call in. Like he just show up and Captain America's going like, motherfucker, I don't want you here. You kill people. That's not cool. And goes like, but I helped you. And it's like, fuck off. Get out of here.
Yeah, that could probably work.
Hire me, Marvel. I will write you the funny books.
Hire me, DC. I will write the actually good Supergirl book.
Oh, someone's salty.
Yeah, I there was a new issue out yesterday, and it was really bad. But
basically what we're saying, DC and Marvel hire us so we can like compete and create like a new era of like Marvel DC comics and be all fun and junk.
That should be like a Patreon goal for Modular. At $50 bajillion, we buy both Marvel and DC.
That's one thing I want to do with Modular is start up a comic book company. Name a thing, I want to do it.
No.
Video games, I want to do them. Make toys, I want to do them.
So, how did you feel about the art generally in this? Because we've already kind of talked about the ending.
Yeah, the art was solid, but for the life of me, I didn't know why Rhodey was a redhead half the time.
Yeah, that was weird.
It's very distinctly these artists are trained to start like it. It's rigid. That's the best way to put it.
I like the main chunk of it, but like the last couple issues, the art style radically changes and gets like way more 90s, and it's just super not my taste.
I like the new design for the Iron Man armor.
Are you talking about the Iron Man armor that comes in at the end, or the War Machine armor?
The Iron Man armor.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid design.
With
I wish there
with
was
the
a
big
figure.
boots and with the big boots and the football pads and
the Uzi strapped to his thigh. Apparently, I just noticed that. There's like a laser Uzi strapped to his thigh.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. War Machine's a solid, and it really shows how solid that War Machine design is that they haven't changed it once.
Mm-hmm. Well, up until the movies came out, and now every Iron Man suit in the comics just looks like movie Iron Man. But that's okay because movie Iron Man is such a solid design. Movie War Machine, though, I genuinely do not think looks as good as this comic War Machine design. Like this is a really solid, really nice superhero design that both looks like it's a easy to replicate superhero costume, but also looks pretty fairly technologically advanced.
Here's the thing about the movie the War Machine suits: the lighter parts aren't as white as they need to be.
Mm-hmm. And they also just keep getting bulkier. Like the one in Infinity War, it looked like he was wearing like a big, what's the word for it? He was wearing like a UAV, like a one of those diving suits that's like a robotic thing, and you're just sitting in the middle of it.
You know what? I'm not bad. I'm fine with bulky War Machine suits because you know what? He's supposed to be the tank to Tony Stark's Ferrari. Tony Stark's a Ferrari race car. He's fast and light and energetic. And War Machine's like, nah, missile.
That is fair, but it's like there's a point with bulkiness where I'm like, that's too much. Yeah. It doesn't look like a wearable suit anymore. It looks like a machine you're sitting in.
I can understand that. But like it's solid. Mm-hmm. The design is like classic. This is like the War Machine that was in Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Mm-hmm. This is the War Machine that the original Marvel Legends, which was an incredibly popular children's toy for the late 90s and early 2000s, is based off of.
Yeah, this is just a solid War Machine and like the quintessential 90s Iron Man.
Yeah.
But the face of Tony Stark is fucking weird. Because I'm so used to them replicating Robert Downey Jr. now.
Oh, see, I was like, how is it weird? Because like I already knew that this is just what Tony looked like before Robert Downey Jr. came along. But like I can definitely see that weird tonal dissonance if you're just so used to Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, but like Robert Downey Jr. just feels like because he has a little bit more roundness in the face, it fits Tony Stark better. Mm-hmm. And here they're just it just looks like that's a Shaggy.
Comic Tony looks like a younger version of Howard.
Yeah, he looks like a Shaggy version of Doctor Strange, which no. Like, the only time that version of Tony looks good is when he has a mullet.
Yeah, okay, I could see that opinion.
Like, he looks great with a mullet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time that sentence has ever been said. Oh, yeah, he looks great with a mullet.
There's probably a few people who have said that about Jason David Frank because he had a mullet when he first showed up in Power Rangers and looks pretty okay.
Then he turned into Guy Fieri.
Yeah. Well, no, that was like years and years later. Then he got long-ass 90s hair. Then he left Power Rangers. Then he came back as Guy Fieri. And now he's left and come back again as average white dude.
Yeah. Unless he's in real life, then he's MMA, bro.
Yeah.
Jason David Frank.
But he's an enigma.
Yeah. But throughout by the end, couple panels I fucking love. It's when Rhodey first sees that Tony Stark is still alive, and you're thinking, it's gonna be like oh shit, you're fucking still alive. That's great. He just goes like, You son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's so good. Because it's like, that is the most Tony thing to do to your best friend. And I don't even think Rhodey's all that surprised. He's just like, of course you'd fucking do this. Fuck you, man.
Yeah. Give Rhodey 6 months and he's gonna be back at Tony. It's like, are you gonna fucking pull that shit again? And Tony's gonna go, no, I won't. Good.
After this, the reason Rhodey actually leaves the book is Marvel liked the War Machine idea so much that they spun him off into his own title for a little bit. And the next time him and Tony meet is in the Dragon Seed Saga, which is a crossover between their two books.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've not read that, but I'm pretty sure the first issue is kind of like an uneasy, there's shit going down, we need to be friends again kind of a thing.
Yeah. This was all before Tony Stark's suit fell in love with him, wasn't it?
I didn't know that was a thing that happened.
Yeah, like they're on a desert island, and the suit's going like, be inside me, Tony! And Tony's like in his underwear running around being survivalist, going like, no!
Well, Jesus. That's, okay, I'll have to look into that.
I remember my cousin had that in like trade, and I read it and I was like, this is a story. Okay. Comic books.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is solid.
Yeah,
and
this is
Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I really like this. There's some great character stuff for both Tony and Rhodey in here. It's not like the best Iron Man thing you're ever gonna read, but it's a really solid little slice of pre-Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man.
Yeah. I don't think there's ever been like, this is an amazing Iron Man story. They're always like, this is a good Iron Man story.
There's not like amazing Iron Man stories. It's more like
because those are all Spider-Man.
It's more like there's amazing Iron Man runs. Like Iron Man fans constantly debate over who had the best run and like who did the most complete, compelling statement on the character. As far as I can tell from looking at Iron Man discussion, like people really like the Matt Fraction run. The David Michelinie run is really highly touted. I don't know how people generally feel about the Bendis run that just ended. I'd like to look into that.
Yeah, there's only one big like Iron Man arc that people can always mention. No, two. Demon in a Bottle and Armor Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But with like any other character, you can kind of like pick out a lot of bigger arcs.
Yeah.
Like with Captain America, you have the War Machine arc, the Hiding arc. That whole kind of, or the fact that Captain America turned into a werewolf.
There's the original introduction of the Winter Soldier. There's the death of Captain America.
Yeah. Well, with Iron Man, it's not as definitive. It will be now going forward because everybody loves Iron Man.
And now everybody's going to try and make a statement on him because he's such a big character now, thanks to Robert Downey Jr. Like, another Dan Slott thing I've been reading recently is he's writing Iron Man right now, and he's kind of just doing a fusion of this period of Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man.
That's cool. That should be good.
It's like Tony's got a new tech startup, and they're doing all kinds of like playing with modern tech trope stuff in there. Like the current arc is he basically made Sword Art Online real.
Oh, that's kind of shit.
Yeah, and it's back.
Why would anybody want to make rapey elves real?
Well, no, that's Alfheim Online. That's the second arc.
I'm disappointed that you actually know the difference.
I've watched a considerable amount of Sword Art Online, and I hate it about as much as Digibro does.
But no, I just remembered there's one what it was probably considered like a pretty good arc of Iron Man. Superior Iron Man.
And that's Doctor Doom.
No. Superior. That's Infamous Iron Man. Superior's when after the thing turned people good and evil, and he has a whole white suit, and he goes to San Francisco and infects people with the beauty virus. And basically, in order to stay beautiful, you have to pay him like $100 a week.
I've never heard of this.
He's like the biggest douche ever. It's great.
When the fuck was this?
2012, 13, I think.
Huh.
Hold on. I'm a Googans.
Okay.
Doot. I'm a Googlans for you.
It has to be recently because Marvel got really into naming titles the Superior Someone after Superior Spider-Man happened.
Superior Iron Man. Armor Model 50. Give me the fucking dates. You piece of shit. Okay, fine. That's all the covers. 2014.
Okay. Yeah, so not too long ago. I'll have to take a look at that because that sounds really, really interesting, but in like a weird way.
Doot. 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 I say doot. There we go. That's the fucking. Put that in your web browser and suck it.
Okay.
That's the first issue.
Oh, I've seen this cover before. Okay.
Yeah. He basically it's Tony Stark turns into Mark Zuckerberg.
Huh.
And Steve Jobs had a baby.
Oh, this is written by Tom Taylor. Okay, I like him. He just did a really good Batman annual. But yeah, do you have anything else to say on this, Chris?
It's a nice, solid beginning, middle, end for Rhodey, but it also really does a good job of just continuing the story for Tony Stark, which is a hard thing to do for something like this. So, applause.
I don't even know if my mic's picking that up.
It is.
Yay! All right. I don't think there's really anything else to say for me. It's just this is a solid Iron Man arc. If you haven't read it before, it's worth your time, but you don't need to rush out and get it unless you're just a diehard Iron Man or War Machine fan. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to Fucked Up Fruit Facts with Chris.
There is an edible park in Asheville, North Carolina. It has over 40 different varieties of fruits and nut trees, and the public is allowed to go and pick fresh fruits from.
Cool.
Yeah.
Edible parks sounds like a thing that should just be way more common.
It sounds like it should be everywhere.
Yeah. Like
on public land.
That's the kind of park, like, I think every city should, now that I know that's a thing, I feel like every city should just have one of those for homeless people to go and get a meal at.
Guess like, we're gonna guess another thing that's gonna be put on the
Modular. You want to make a city, I know. Coincidentally, and I'm only saying this because I know it will annoy you, I've been catching up on the Procrastinators podcast recently, and and in the episodes I'm listening to, DigiBro is really into city building right now. All right. Well, there's no questions for the Q&A this week, so we're going to go ahead and select the next episode. So are you ready to find out what we're going to be talking about next time, Chris?
Sure, I guess. God.
All right. All right. It's another one of my suggestions next time, which is going to be something I put on the list because I'm a pretty big fan of it. As we all know, superhero TV shows are pretty big right now, particularly on the DC side. There's, the whole CW-verse thing that's going on. There was a Constantine show for a little bit. There's the Titans streaming service show. There's fucking iZombie. Was iZombie a DC thing, or was
Vertigo? It's Vertigo.
Same difference, but yes. Okay. And of course, there was a little show called Smallville, which ran for a very long time and was kind of the thing that let this all be possible, because it proved you could do superheroes on TV by doing a superhero on TV without doing a superhero on TV, because Smallville's a clusterfuck.
Smallville was basically Superman Buffy.
But I didn't pick Smallville. I picked a show that started at the same time as Smallville, but did not get any other seasons. It only ran for one season, and in my opinion, it's the show we should have gotten for 12 years instead of Smallville, because it leans a little bit more into the comic bookiness and is just kind of a better show. So next time we are going to be talking about the complete Birds of Prey TV series.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's currently streaming anywhere. It might be on that DC streaming service, but you can get the whole show on DVD for like $10. It's really cheap and easy to find. Like, there's been a copy in every Walmart I've gone into for the last 5 years.
Alrighty then.
All right. So with that said, hey, Chris, why don't you tell people where they can find what you do?
All right, I'm Boingo Writer Gasson. You can find my shit on YouTube at Boingo Writer. Just like search for it, or like there's a link in the description. Do whatever. Make video editorials where I speak opinions and shit. Follow me on Twitter, Boingo_Writer. I'm on Instagram. I don't post often, but Boingo Writer there too as well. Find my shit here in podcasts. Probably going to be starting up a D&D unrelated podcast up on my channel if you want to listen to that. Also Discord channel, Discord server in the description that you can join. Come and talk to me and Vac if he shows up.
Yeah, and I talk about how my wife's going to die next year. That's a thing that happened recently. Anyways, this podcast is produced by
You might want to
Modular.
be clarified. You might want to clarify that.
So no, I don't think I need to. They can get on the server and figure it out for themselves. Ow. I just dropped a wrench on my foot.
What the fuck, dude? Also, you need to explain where your shit comes from.
I am Simeon Scott. I make various things online. I'm the person responsible for a little thing called the Vacuuminator Saga. You can find that at youtube.com/thevacuuminator and potentially other places soon. My personal channel is just Simeon Scott. I'm currently uploading a bunch of old videos from the Vacuuminator channel that aren't part of the saga, but I still want to be available because they demonstrate how I've grown as a content creator by their very existence, because they're kind of rough. I have a Twitter and an Instagram. Those are at that Simeon Scott, and yeah, that's pretty much the places you can find me online, at least that are currently active. So yeah, this as I was starting to say earlier, but forgot because I do things.
That I remind you to. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. This podcast is a production of Modular Media. We are a multimedia online personality conglomerate coalition.
It's a thing. We're just working together.
Yeah.
We don't need a fucking label at this point.
We'll eventually work with other people.
No commitment. This is very.
We're just friends, you know. With
benefits, I talk about
but
his
not
videos,
those kind of benefits. The other kind where it's like,
dude, it's okay to be a little gay.
Oh, is it? Is it okay to be gay? Is it okay to be gay? Can we rejoice with our voice in the gay way? Can we? I need to know.
You can do it.
Okay, cool. So if you want to do that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. The button's right down there. Follow us on Twitter for updates on shows and things when they're coming out. We've got a subreddit. That's in the description as well. You can go and follow us for updates, goofs, and gaffs. If you want to listen to our podcasts on the go, but you don't got that sweet YouTube Premium membership, you can download them from a Google Drive folder in the description. And yeah, that's pretty much everything as far as I can think of. So until next time, I've been Simeon Scott.
I've been slightly distracted.
Well, I think it's fair to say I am too, given that I dropped a fucking wrench on my foot. Anyways, that'll do it for this episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye!